So, in business, in life, and in personal development, when we set goals, oftentimes we think about like setting like really big goals because we're ambitious and we want to get somewhere. I think, sometimes that's a great strategy, but sometimes it also makes sense to set smaller steps for yourself so that you can actually get somewhere. You know, the truth is, and this is what we're going to cover in this video, like there are many approaches to do that. There are people who say you need to set your goals like really high so that you can be ambitious, like don't set realistic goals, don't set small goals, just make them really big so that you're really motivated to go after them. And I think that's great, but I think also sometimes that just kind of tends to keep you stuck in like fantasy land. And then I think it's good to consider the other side as well, like taking smaller steps, things that are realistic, or things that are even easy for you, just because it's less of a hassle, it's less of a step, and oftentimes it just feels more natural and gives more energy to your nervous system. For example, today I was doing cold approaches in the city that I'm in here. I'm in the station now, but I was like, I have a lot of experience in cold approach. And so I was like, I want to do a lot of approaches and I'm going to do this and that. But, I haven't done any approaches in like 2 or 3 years. So my expectations are still that I can do these things. But the reality is I'm a little bit rusty. And so even though I have this like big expectations for myself on like, I want to do this and this, I was like today I went out and I was like, I gotta do this and I gotta do this. But at the end of the day, what gave me the motivation to do that is just saying hello, taking small steps and not putting pressure on myself. Because that's what I've been doing for the past 3 or 4 weeks. When I've been doing this cold approach thing again, I've been like really pressuring myself to go after this goal that I had in mind. And even though it wasn't super ambitious, it was still too big for me to do it in one go. It wasn't energizing, it was too difficult, even though it didn't seem that way. But like I noticed I was just stuck. And you could argue, of course, that just the fact that I've been doing this for 3, 4 weeks, that I've been pressuring my system a little bit, now made me more able to do that, perhaps. But I also think there's a real benefit to just taking small steps, because I noticed this, it just energizes your system more and it makes it a lot easier to go to the next step. And it tends to make the process more fun as well. So I think sometimes it's really great to take small steps, set small goals for yourself so you can actually climb the ladder step by step instead of like having to jump an entire floor like every time you set a goal. So I think that's really helpful. On the other hand of the spectrum is then, setting like really ambitious goals that, I'm going to do this, something that almost nobody can do or something that's never been done before, and I'm going to fucking do that. I believe in myself, I'm going to fucking do that. And I think that's a great way to motivate yourself as well. But like I said, like the danger is when you do that, you tend to drift away from realism. It can be very motivating, it can be very empowering, but sometimes it can keep you stuck as well. And it's hard to like kind of tell you when should you set like really ambitious goals, when should you set like more the smaller step-by-step goals. Personally, I find myself oscillating between those two. For example, with my business, when I started out, like I know business is difficult, so then I was like, I'm gonna start a business, it's gonna be I'm gonna be doing like 100K every month. Maybe, who knows, maybe I'm even going to having a business like Elon Musk, or maybe I'll even beat Elon Musk. And so that was my motivation. Like when I started out, like many people even do that when they get into entrepreneurship. And I think that's a good, uh, I think that's actually a good mindset to have when you start entrepreneurship. Because I think, I don't know if you need that, but I would argue that you could say that because it is difficult after all starting a business. And I do think like being really ambitious keeps the dream alive, you know? So when you look at it like that, keeping the dream alive, it's not just about having the dream, it's also like believing that you can do it. And so I think maybe that when you feel like you need that spark, I think that's when you need to set like really ambitious goals. But if you want to see steady improvement, steady day-to-day real improvement, then I think it's good to combine that with like smaller steps, because I think that's just the best way you're going to see real measured improvement. So maybe it's just best that you can have the ambitious goals and then the day-to-day measured improvement as well. That's the way I see things. I don't know if that works for everyone, but that's the way I see things. Because this is also what I think when I speak to people. When I speak to people who are like really ambitious and like set these lofty goals, I'm thinking, great, you know, this person hasn't given up, this person has hope, this person has drive. But if it isn't backed up by a real plan, you know, it's never going to be achieved, right? Because it's a goal. It's never going to be achieved either way. But if it's backed up by a realistic plan, then I'm going to say, you know, this person has really ambitious goals, but they seem to have like a really dedicated plan and they're serious about sacrificing for this. And they've thought it out. They have an actual strategy that isn't just, you know, thrown out of the wind. They've thought a lot about it and they have an actual strategy. Then I'm going to say, well, you know, this person, I think this I'm going to take this person really seriously. But if this person just has a lofty goals and it can't be real, then we're going to be like, you know, this is not good. It's good that he has ambition, but this is a dreamer. This is not someone he might achieve his goals, but this is not someone who is grounded in reality. And then you also have the other side of the spectrum, the people who are too grounded in reality. You know, they're like analyzing everything and every possible risk, which you could argue it's good. But if they don't have the ambition, if they don't have the drive, if they don't have the dream, then I think it's also, you know, you could argue that, you know, you can kind of see that in people as well, right? And sometimes I think it's okay. Sometimes it can even be necessary to take a more defensive stance in life, depending on the situation you are in. But, you know, generally speaking, I think it's good to really have like the drive as well, so you can actually go somewhere. So that's what I say. And I know that maybe I've been like rambling a little bit today in this video, but this is really what I've noticed when I've done the cold approaches, is that I just took small steps and like it really energized me, and eventually it gives you the confidence to do bigger challenges, and it gets the fun back into it as well. So, you know, I know that this doesn't just apply to cold approaches, it applies to business, sales, personal development, everything you want to do in life. Of course, there's going to be differences, but being both real and being, you know, having ambition and having the dream, the ambitious goals at the same time, I think that's probably like the best combination. that you can do. So let me know if you enjoyed the video, guys. If you have any comments or ideas, feel free to share. And I will see you guys next time. Check out my video if you want. Have a great day. Bye-bye.